Welcome, everyone, to a conversation with Peter Hurley, hosted by McKenna. Thanks, Peter, for being on.
Oh my gosh, I'm psyched to be here. We've been talking about this.
We have.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a bit. It's been a minute. Hey, and good to see you, too. I haven't seen you in a little while.
I know.
So, welcome. Well, let me introduce Peter for all of you. Some of you guys know who he is, but just an official introduction for the man of the hour. McKenna welcomes one of the most successful headshot photographers in the world, Peter Hurley. Based in New York City and Los Angeles, Peter's career started in front of Bruce Weber's camera more than 2 decades ago. Since then, he's photographed countless actors, celebrities, and has written books on his groundbreaking photographic techniques. Not only has he given presentations at Google, Apple, and on the TEDx stage, but he's also been in a Canon Explorer of Light and has developed products for Westcott. SHA-BANG!
I'll take it.
Mr. Peter Hurley. So, first question for you, Peter. Where'd SHA-BANG come from?
Oh, that's a good one. So I have a video, and I like said I was recording at the time, and this girl was in the studio, and it was before like phones even had cameras. I don't think I had a flip video camera is what I was using. I don't remember when that was. I guess the iPhone wasn't that great. I don't know what I was doing, but I have that recording somewhere, and I said, look at that shot, shaboom. And then I was like, shabang. And then, so that's where it officially started. I don't know how far before that or far after that was the jawline video, because I say it in the jawline video. And the moment of shebang in the jawline video is what really made it go viral. So that was the thing.
That was the beginning of it all.
Oh my gosh. And now I don't know how many people, I got some headshot crew people in there. I don't know how often I tell this story, but I go all over the world and people will yell shebang at me in random places. So, and it's cool because, and when my wife and I are traveling together, if I don't get shebanged in like a week's time, I get upset. I'm like, I lost my mojo. What's going on? But so it usually does happen. But it's happening a little bit less because I think I've been less viral and less shebanging. But my favorite one, I was in New York City, and this wasn't even like it happened in Paris, it happened in Stockholm. I was in Singapore, all this stuff. It's so cool. But I'm in New York City, I'm home, but I'm riding a bike down the street and there's a cop directing traffic, and I zip by the cop with my bike and the guy goes, shebang. And I was like, yeah, I was like, what? Anyway, so it's been good. I had a marketing guy. I stopped saying, I say it on shoots occasionally when I get really excited, but I'll yell it out pretty often in group environments. But I kind of stopped for a little bit, and this marketing guy was like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you can't stop that. I was like, well, I mean, it's been 12 years I've been yelling shebang. He goes, you got to keep yelling shebang.
Exactly.
I was like, okay. All right.
Yeah, I'd say don't stop, man. I was on our last webinar and there were people, I was saying, oh, you guys got to jump on our next webinar. We're having Peter Hurley, and some guy in the chat wrote shebang, and that was pretty cool. And I was like, nice. It's a small world, so
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
So I mean, I guess really, so you started as a model, you were a sailor, and the whole story about polo sport. Tell us a little bit about, like, how did you transition from, and it's kind of a loaded question, but how did you go from kind of into who you are as just a photographer to then to be an educator? Like, how did all that transpire?
That was all F-stopper. So my photography career started because of Bruce, and I picked up the camera and I was off to the races, but I was just minding my own business. I had blinders on. I was in New York. I was shooting up a storm, and I was like, I had one best headshot photographer in New York. Oh, I got to hold on. I got this is annoying. Hold on. I got light contamination. Hold on.
Hey, just so
Is
you
that
guys,
better?
oh, I didn't notice any difference.
Oh my gosh, I had my overheads on hitting me, and I was like, and they're not daylight balance, and I got the flex kit hitting me with some daylight. So it's my anyway. I'm a photographer, guys. I kind of can't have bad lighting on me. Anyway, so I'm in. So I pick up the camera, I start going, and I had won all this stuff in New York, and I was like, I want to open up in LA. I got to do that. So I opened up in LA, and I started out in LA, and I was like, okay, now, and I was just a studio shooter. Like I never paid zero attention to what was going on with the um, industry. I didn't know there was. I mean, I went to PPE every year just because it was in New York, but I didn't really know any speakers. I had gone to Photoshop World and saw Scott Kelby in 2005. I remember that, but I didn't really know the circuit or anything. And the F-Stoppers guys had started the blog, and they said, "Hey, we want to interview you." And then they came in the studio. I was like, "Sure." And they came in, and I was in the middle of a shoot, and I like kicked them out. And they were like, I was like, "Just come back later." And they came back later, and then we did more. And they put that video out, and then they're like, "You got to do a tutorial," and the rest is history. So it was really them. I credit all my leaps and bounds in this to Lee and Patrick for seeing something in me that I didn't know was in myself.
Mhm. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I think it's hard to go from not being a photographer to then actually being an authority in the world of and telling others how to shoot because, and for those of you guys for those of you guys that don't know, I took Peter's his headshot intensive. When was that, Peter? Maybe 2017,
I don't
2018,
remember, when
somewhere
did you
around there.
take it? Because it was right around then when we shot. It must have been before that because you shot me with. Can you bring the picture up on the screen? I mean, this
What's
is
that? I've shot you
the
a couple times. What, the Uncle
Uncle
Sam?
Sam.
The Uncle Sam. Yeah, I could probably,
So
I'd have to look for it. I didn't,
So guys, just so you know, Eric's a ridiculous, he's a fiend with a camera. He's like amazing portrait photographer. And if you know me, you know I don't like anybody shooting me at all. Like, I mean, I don't mind being shot. I like being shot, but I don't go out of my way to allow people to, like, if people ask me, I'm like, yeah, I'm too busy. I shoot myself. Don't worry about it. Eric asked me to do this cockamamie scheme,
you
and
loved it. You loved it. Come on.
I'm not even allowed on my roof, let alone like that shot. It almost looks like, because I grew the hair back and the beard back, it almost looks like it could be now, although I'm aging gracefully. It must have been, seriously, it must have been in because I shaved my head at WPPI in 2017 in February. So this must have been 2016. I bet you I could look up when you took the intensive. I
Yeah,
know I have all that information.
I kind of want to say maybe 2017. I'm looking for the photo. I'll pull it up here in a sec. Let me just get rid of this. Um,
It was December of 2016 that you took the workshop, and then I think we befriended each other, and then we just hung out after that, and we started hanging out, and then you asked me to shoot, or did you shoot me? You didn't shoot me during. We didn't do that during the workshop, did we?
I kind of think it was maybe after, because I think in the intensive, and I don't know if you do it now. I'm gonna just share this screen for a sec. Check it out. So that's the shot, right? If you guys can see the screen.
That sucker, yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the workshop, you said, all right, everyone's gonna take a portrait of me. And so I thought of this idea. All right, well, you're Mr. Like, let's get you. I want you to come to my intensive. And so I thought of this scenario. I went and got a costume. I put the Empire State behind you. And since your thing was white background at the time, I wanted a white background in there. And then I just got you up on the roof and we did it. There's probably
Where is this outfit? Where does this exist?
it was some costume store. So in New York, what was that place? It's in Oh, it's not Greenwich Village, but it's down like off. I can't remember even streets right now. What's it? The Bowery. It's near. It's in the Bowery. There's a big costume place.
I
Um,
don't remember. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know where that is.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
you got
Yeah,
it there. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
I
I
got
mean,
it
this
there.
is amazing. Look at you got the Hurley Pro bags, the background up there. You got the clouds, the Empire State Building's lit up like a Christmas tree. It's perfect. It's lit
That
up
was fun.
perfectly. And I'm doing my thing. This is cool.
That
I,
was fun.
I
And then I took another portrait of you. Here's you again.
you did. Oh
That was,
yeah.
and
I
then,
remember that.
and actually, quite frankly, my LinkedIn picture on LinkedIn is a portrait you took of me. So
Really?
we don't have to go there, but I still use that portrait and love it. And you're amazing, obviously. So yeah, anyway, but that's
I like that. Look at that profile. It's my parents, that's a parental hookup right there.
so that was fun. I think yeah, you and I photographed each other a couple times. I had longer hair. And you did a couple portraits of me, and then I did a couple of you, and yeah, it was kind of funny. So when I took your, and I'll share this story. And I don't know, do you remember that time after we did the intensive and we went and grabbed a drink down the street from your uh from your studio? Do you remember
Where?
what you asked
Compton?
me? Do you remember what you asked me that first time?
No.
So, okay, so I took Peter's headshot, right? So I'm somewhat of like an ambivert, right? Like I'm not really an introvert, I'm not an extrovert. I'm somewhere in between, right? And so I took your intensive, your workshop, kind of like I like this guy's energy, what can I learn? And I had been shooting professionally for at least 10 years. I don't know. I went to Brooks a long time ago and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. You're
so
hardcore. He's
so
amazing. Yeah.
I kind of like, knew a little bit. And then, but I'm like, I could probably learn something from this guy. Let's just take his workshop. Let's see what I can learn. And I mean, last year alone, I think I took probably 10 webinars myself just to learn new things. And so Peter asked me, he leans over and he's like, all right, man, can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah, sure. And Peter's a little intimidating. He's 6'5", and he leans over and he's like, I gotta ask you, what the heck are you doing in my intensive? And I said, what? And you don't remember that?
No, I'm sure I said it though. Yeah.
And so he's like, man, you're one of the best guys to ever do my workshop. And what are you doing here? And I was like a little taken aback because I'm like, well, I don't know, like, because I am kind of just
Yeah,
curious.
because you weren't going into you weren't doing a headshot business. It was like a
Uh,
weird, you were just doing it to hang out with me and glean some stuff and then go take it into your portrait business. So that's why I asked that question. Because most of the people who take it are like, all right, I'm going to learn from here and make some money. And
right,
you
they're
were just like,
headshot.
I want to pick this guy's brain. Even afterwards, you were always asking different questions. And I was like, you're not even doing a headshot business.
Mm,
That was all it was. I mean, your talent is there. You're uber talented, and I always liked what you were doing, but your thought process in this whole thing was not as business minded. It was more of an artistic approach to photography that brought a different energy into the environment of the workshop. So I liked it. It was cool. I
yeah,
remember that now because because you are a whatever you just said, and whatever vert you are, you're a vert. You're one of those.
ambivert.
Yeah.
So, but the interesting thing, I'm like, I can learn from this guy because he talks to people in such a different way than I was. And I ended up doing a whole project. It was called From the Outside In, where I'd interview people on the streets everywhere I went, whether it was Paris or Canada, a bunch of different places. I interviewed customers of mine, waiters that I met, and just asked them questions and got them talking. And I was shooting while I was talking, and it was I took a different approach to shooting because of you, really, quite frankly. And not only is I felt like the intensive was good because not only a different way of working, I'm a big flash guy, you're a big constant light, and you do have your own lighting system, and I think you were doing Kino Flow at the time and different things, but now you have 3 light system. But I really learned a lot of like how to talk to people, because you know this, you get people in front of your camera and they don't want to be they don't want to be in front of your camera, and especially other photographers. And you have a way with people that just gets them laughing. I mean, you even had an app which was Hurleyisms, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. We have it. It's built into the headshot crew now. So we have it there. I got to promote that more on the crew. Actually, we'll just do a Hurleyisms
Can you
push.
can you talk a little bit about what that all is? Because maybe a lot of people don't know.
Sure. Sure. So when people get in front of cameras, immediately the body goes stiff, the chin goes back, the eyes widen, the internal thought process comes out on the face, and they look like this. So what do, right? You gotta get them to behave like a normal human being. So what I found was so when I started, I knew right away that nothing that I do was technical photographic, because I didn't know any photographic stuff. I didn't know aperture, ISO. I didn't know that there was an exposure triangle. I didn't know any of that. I never took a course. So I knew what a good picture looked like, and I knew for me, photography is all trial and error. So I just started trying stuff, and then it worked, and I was like, okay, I can get this photograph to look good. I don't know how to get the person to look good. And then that was it. I was like, okay, well, if I already can get the photograph to look good, I got to get the person to look good. Otherwise, I got nothing. So then it became, okay, how do you get around human beings being stiff in front of in front of a camera? And then that led to doing it with actors, because I was shooting actors, and actors, I was one, so it was very easy to talk to them. Everything starts from a common thread. So I had a common thread with actors because I was one, so I could talk about scenes and monologues and class and auditioning and blah 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 blah. So I started as a headshot photographer for actors, and I talked to them in that vein. When I got a CEO in, I was like, shit, I'm not a CEO. I don't know how to talk to this guy. And I realized I had nothing. And this was years into my shooting process, because I had never shot any corporate stuff. And I was like, I don't know how to talk to the average human being. And that's when I realized, I was like, there's a bigger play here. And that's what it was. It was like, okay, I can't just have this for actors. I have to have this for every human being on the planet. And I think that's what photographers miss. If you look out there and you look at photographers' work, one of the things, if you get any BTS video, I'm not looking at, I mean, I look at the way it's shot, or I'm trying to look at where the lights are and where it's placed, but I'm trying to get the video to turn up the volume to see what the direction is to the subject in terms of their expression, not in terms of their posing. So photographers are very good at posing. They're not good at conveying about the expression. So I was like, okay, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to not worry about the posing, because I want it to be more human. I actually hate the word pose. I call it loose positioning. I don't like the word pose. So I don't want to worry about the posing. I want to worry about the expression. So then I went to go into the expression, and then I found the weirder I got, the better the expressions got. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get a little weird here. So
He gets pretty weird, I'll tell you.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was, and one that I still use is the bring the edges of your mouth up to your ears, and people are like, "What?" And it
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
gets a little smile, and then it's like, boom, snap.
Yeah, so
What's
I
the
do
best?
that. That one that one was born out of me trying to say the things that I wanted. So here's a concept. Just do this. The Whatever you want the human being to do, say it in the weirdest way possible, or the most complicated way possible, because once the human's thinking and has to decipher what you're saying, they'll forget about their facial expression and that there's a camera there, because they're trying to answer you in a proficient way. So the main thing is this: people care more about their appearance than about their intelligence than they do their appearance, which is so great for us. So if I say bend the corners of your mouth toward your earlobe so your mouth starts to form a U, you're going to go like, you want to please me. I'm your coach. I'm coaching you on facial stuff, and you're going to go, what the hell did he just say?
They stop
And
thinking
then
about, right?
Yeah, it stops the mental chain of oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I'm in front of a camera. This is weird. I'm being recorded. I'm paying a lot of money for this thing or whatever. And yeah, that's one of my favorites. I probably still use that like every day. A lot of them come and go. Like I forget a lot of them, and people will watch in a video something that I said, and they'll say, "Hey, do that thing that you did when you said this," and I was like. I used to tell everybody, like seriously, like I had a routine that started at the beginning of the session and I'd run people through this routine and it would end at the end of the session and I said things in order. And I basically got good enough where I don't need to do that now. I'm trying to figure out how to teach this, but it's tough. I'm more intuitive now. So now I have so much stuff in my brain that I intuitively feel like this person needs to hear this now. So I don't have a routine anymore. It just comes out of me, which is great, but it gets rusty real quick if I don't shoot for if I don't shoot for a week, I'm not half as good as I gotta be shooting. So
Do you believe everyone is photogenic and it's up to the photographer to make them look good?
absolutely. I mean, we're humans. We're born on this thing that's revolving around this hot thing, and to me, we're all attractive. So it's just and look. I mean, everybody look the definition of beauty or whatever in this world is different for everybody. So I had Miss Universe walk in and tell me she couldn't stand her face, and I've had people that might not appear to be fairly attractive to other people and they like lit up when they got in front of the camera and to me the beauty's internal and it's our job to get it out there externally. It's always there and we just have to find it. So there's a bar, let's say there's a bar like from modeling. um I have a chip on my shoulder because it was hard. Like I didn't try to do it. I fell into it and it was hard. And if you're a model signed to an agency in New York City, you got something. Like something you got a leg up in some department that somebody believed in and they put you in front of clients. A lot of people want to do it and they say they do it and they don't really do it at the level that they should be saying that they're a full-time model or something like that. And I just kind of feel that way. So I never I try my best with people that tell me that they want to model or that they are models and I'm like, but models to me get in front of cameras and they pose and there's not much organic material coming at me when they're doing that. So I know I never liked that, but I'm going off on a tangent here. I think that there is beauty in everybody, and I think it's our job to find it, and I think it's our job to do the best technique that we can have with the camera to produce something that's not produced on a daily basis when they're not in front of a professional camera. So if you're going to stand out as a pro, you better have some serious technique behind you just to make people look great. And then whatever their bar is for their beauty level. And as we age and we go through life and things happen and I'm looking older, I haven't seen you in a while and we're both aging, I'm looking at you and I'm like, okay, we're both going up there. And if you look at that picture of me, like that beard does not have any gray in it. I don't think at all. And now I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, holy smokes. So things are changing. Everything changes. That's what this lifetime that we signed up for this somehow. Somehow we ended up here and now everything changes. So my job is to capture that change at the moment that the person's in front of me, that I got the gift of the human being in front of my camera and I get to capture whatever changes they've been through. And they have to embrace that. And this is the biggest thing. This is kind of like my TEDx talk. Like I really can't stand people that don't enjoy their appearance. And I believe that appearance it's like a side door to your character. And if your appearance takes a hit from you internally, then your character takes a hit. And I don't think people want their character to take a hit. I think you have to enjoy yourself and enjoy the way you look and be thankful for your parents no matter how you look. And then you got to do your best with it. Like you can't you can't let yourself go. Look, our health is the most important. You got to do the work to keep the body in the shape that it's in so that you can do the things that you want to do while you are revolving around the sun.
So how did you transition from like starting out as a photographer to where was that breakthrough for you to start including humor into your into your shoots? Because you're very funny, like behind the camera, and you get people to just out of themselves. And it's like when I was in front of your camera, it's just I'll do, anything, because you got such a high energy. You one up everyone that is in front of you. So how did that breakthrough take place? Because
Awesome question. I don't know. I think so I was concentrating on headshots and I was concentrating on actors, and I was like, you know what? Everything's flat. Like I looked at all the ads and everybody had what I considered Nefa face back then. If you open up any of the ads from when I picked up a camera in 2000 to 2005, 2008 or whatever, those years, most actors just looked into the camera blank. And the ads went out like that. Like all the headshot photographers in the city had that. And I ended up being like, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to do that. I think the best thing that I did is that I stuck to my guns with my clients, and I stuck to my guns with agents and managers calling me and telling me they need this when I didn't want to do that. I stayed true to my art, which was creating genuine human expressions, which means genuine laughter and stuff like that. So I was like, how do you get somebody to I guess all my life I had a somewhat sense of humor. I credit one of my childhood friends with this like sense of humor that we still have, and we still joke about this day, and we laugh about it. I thank him, because I was like, the sense of humor that we have, like I don't know how to explain it because I'm not a comedian or anything, but I always thought I was fairly funny. But there was like, it's somewhat to do with like stating the obvious in a funny way or something. We were sailing, I was racing sailboats, and we were setting up a course, and we had a tape recorder because we had to tape the finishes of the finish, and he was on a walkie-talkie and I was on a walkie-talkie, and we had team members on the walkie-talkies in different boats. And he was like, he got on the walkie-talkie and he's like, okay, we're gonna remove this like buoy from the surface of the water or something like that. And then somebody gave a command and I recorded it, and then I played it back again because somebody was trying to put the buoy in the right spot, and somebody said, move it further. And I recorded that. And so every time they would be like, here, and then the person would say like, yeah, and then I'd record them again, say, move it further. And then anyway, this is funny to me. I don't know how that translated into like somehow stating the obvious being funny, but that's what I keyed in on.
I think it's what you said though, getting to that natural expression, right? It's like evoking that I think, and kind of what I've learned from you and what I see from having experience in front of your camera is kind of like one sort of reaction from me from what you said triggers something else, and then you trigger, and that triggers something else, and you just start vibing with that, and you're like, I want a certain expression, so I'm going to say a certain thing, and you just continue that sort of like I don't know what you call that, just
I think the thing
momentum
is,
of the emotion or expression that you're trying to get. That's at least what I felt from
well,
experience.
yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, I think photographers, especially like if you're a perfectionist or something, so this is the art of persuasion. Basically, you look through the camera, you see that the person's not doing anything. You got to persuade them to do something. That's our job. And then some photographers don't know what to say, and then they know what they kind of want to go for. I know what I'm going for, but I don't need to, I'm not going to jump in the person's body and do it. And I don't mind seeing them just flounder around and they're doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm like, just do stuff. One thing that I found is that it never jumps into your camera. Like I always, when I wasn't as good of a director, the frustration of not being able to direct created this for me. So when when it wouldn't jump into my camera and I would be praying, oh, please just, this person's paying me and they're in front of, and I'm just like internally just done with this person and can't get anything out of them. And I didn't know how to direct back then. And I was like, please, just something. I'll just shoot a bunch. This is why those photographers never grew or never, it was how I in any medium, I guess, when you're trying to go to the top of it, there's a pecking order. And when I was training for the Olympics, we had a pecking order. And when I started, I was ranked like 30th in the country. And I was like trying to get to #1 to go to the Olympics. And I was like, how am I going to do this? You know? And I was like, and you find those ways of doing it. That was my way of doing it, was like, okay, I picked up a camera. There's 300-400, I don't know how many headshot photographers were in New York at the time. The Hobermans were #1. Okay, how do I get to Christine Hoberman, and how do I get that $1,000 headshot rate that she's getting, and how am I going to do it? And my way of doing it was that was the way it happened. And it was a no holds barred attitude towards it. Like, I wasn't letting anybody leave unless they had a Peter Hurley, you know, it wasn't going to happen. And the Peter Hurley thing was that the casting directors would call me. Agents and managers were a little tougher, but the casting directors would call me and be like, oh my God, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? And they're like, you're making, I had the head casting director at ABC call me out of the blue and say, I love you. I love your work. I'm sending you everybody. And I was like, why? She goes, you make people look like they are already celebrities.
Nice.
He's like, you make them look like they've already made it. And I was like, and I could see your work a mile away. And then everybody started copying the white background, but they couldn't copy the expression. So the casting directors knew it wasn't me. And they were like, but the white background created the look. And then the expression tied into it was what really launched me. And then that got copied by everybody, and people just can't get the expression. So that's why I coach and try and get these guys to do, you know, what it is that they need to do, which is pull the expression, because we can get the lighting down for everybody and we can kind of dial it in and work with people on their light and their technical, but the expression generating stuff is the tough stuff.
So someone struggling or starting out of school, whether they went to school or whether they were assisting, whatever direction they took, now they're shooting, they're a new professional, but they're struggling. What advice would you give to someone in that scenario? Like, is it a combination of things, or is it one particular thing? Do they need to do more of one thing that you generally see? What's been the trend?
Well, everybody's different. I think you have to be true to yourself. So like you said, you're an ambivert, which I don't know what that means, but everybody's different. Like, people see me as a extrovert, and I was introverted as a kid, I would say. And then when I did my first acting class, like, the acting helped me with everything I'm doing now, like being in front of, like, I'm actually working on becoming more and more comfortable in front of people. Like, being on stage has helped me, being directing, having like high profile human beings in front of my cameras helped me. All this stuff has led to the human being that people see now. But if you saw me as I had this this story. There's two stories. One is I got a modeling agent, and then I lost a modeling agent. Then I ran around the city trying to get another modeling agent. I had this one modeling agent who not only got me, she got me my first bartending job. So this bar was looking for models to be bartenders, and I had gone to a bartending school, but I got one job in New York City, and I bartended just a little bit at this, it wasn't even a club. And then the biggest club in the city was looking for bartenders, and my agent sent me to the job interview, and I go in there, and I'm like this mousy kid, like I'm just like, but I was really into bartending. I really liked it. I was trying to be like, you know, Tom Cruise on Cocktail or whatever. I was like, this is going to be awesome. And I get the job. The guy who gave me the job, I haven't seen him in 20 years. I haven't seen him in 24 years. I left that job in 1999. I think I left that job in like the end of 98, 99. And I hadn't seen him. I saw him like 2 weeks ago, and it was awesome. And I said to him, I walked up to him, and I was like, and we were talking, and I said, you don't understand what you did for me. you know, given me that. I think there's people in your life that like shift your gears, change your trajectory. That guy had no, except for I guess I was fairly good looking that I was modeling, but he didn't look at how I bartended. What he did was he threw me next to their best bartender, which was this Scottish guy who was like Tom Cruise. I mean, he's flipping bottles and doing all sorts of shit, but he put him next to me. And that guy became one of my closest buddies. And to this day, I told him, he was at the thing too. And I was like, you know, and I became the speedster at this club called Life. And it was a time, it was awesome. And I look back at that time as with very fond memories. I got sick of bartending though. I was done with it. And now I'm at this stage where I don't know how I got to this level of the conversation. So you have to, what were we talking about?
Well, okay, so
Bring me back, man.
Well,
I'm like lost.
well, here's the thing. Like, I think when you were starting out, you were just kind of doing this and doing that and meeting this person and that kind of thing. So when photographers are
Oh, wait,
starting
yeah.
out,
When they're starting out. So
they're
this is the
kind of
thing.
in that middle stage of doing a few different things, maybe, right? And things just kind of happened for you. You met the
Well,
right person.
well, yeah, what each photographer needs is different. Like some people are really technical. Some people are really have good people skills. I needed, I would say that I walk some sort of line between right and left brain. Like some people that are really right brain, they just can't get the technical, but they really connect with people and they really have like composition down or something. And they're just artsy and just like airy fairy or whatever. They're just amazing. They have amazing skill set, but they're missing something, right? And me, I was like, it's got to look great, but then I need that artistic side. So I walk this line of right and left brain, I think. So everybody has to, each photographer. So what I'm getting at is that each photographer has to look at themselves and know, okay, where's my skill set? What do I need to work on? What do I need? Like, it was always like when I was training for the Olympics, I always go back to this with the sailing. I knew where I was really good in the boat and I knew where I needed to work. So what I did was I kept what I was best at, you know, tried to keep that as solid as possible. But then I was like, this is the area where I need the most work. And I went for that. And once I got good at that, it was like game over. I was like, it
So
was a
you're
different ballgame.
you're as strong as your weakest link kind of thing.
Yeah, there you go.
So strengthen that, right?
Yeah.
What was your weakest link when you were starting out as a photographer? Strobes?
Lighting was
Pretty good on.
lighting was really tough. Yeah, lighting, I didn't know I didn't take any courses, so I didn't know. So I was, until I discovered, so I shot natural light. I found a big window and I just plopped myself in front of it. I actually got these Lumidyne strobes with softboxes on them, and the first time I set them up and shot, the shots were really good. I was like, wow, but I didn't know why. Like when the f-stoppers walked in here and they asked me to do an illuminating your face video, they said to me, okay, we're gonna, you know, since we're doing lighting, you're gonna have to teach the inverse square law. And I was like, what's that? And they're like, what? And this was in 2017 or no, we did the first one in 2011. This must have been 2014 or something, 2013, 2014. I mean, I didn't know what the inverse square law was then. Like they taught it to me. They're like, we're going to have to teach it to you and then you're going to have to teach it. And then they put it free on YouTube and it's like known as the best inverse square law video out there. And they taught it to me and then I went on camera and taught it. So I get all the credit, but it's them. It wasn't me. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just repeating what they told me to say. And now I know it. And I was like, wow, I wish I knew this then. So I was a trial and error guy. And I think that was the best trait that I had, is that I would try anything and I had an eye for seeing what it was. And I had a curiosity. I wanted to learn. It wasn't until later that I think the thing of the people skills was really I didn't realize that was my biggest asset, but anyway.
Is that how you got so good? Just paying attention to those little details, you think? Or
I think,
How'd you get so good?
well, I think this is kind of tough because I feel like some people, are missing out on this, but that's why you hang out with really good photographers. It rubs off on you. When I was modeling for 5 years, I didn't know I was going to pick up a camera, so I paid no attention on the sets. But I was on all the big jobs. Like I have the pictures of me from these jobs, So I'd be like doing there, immersed in it, but no clue that I was going to be a photographer. So when I picked up a camera, not only did I kick myself about the 5 years that I was paying more attention to craft services and whatever the heck I was doing during the shoot, rather than paying attention to what the photographer was doing, I became the most annoying model that the photographer's ever encountered. Because once I picked up a camera, I was like, well, what's that? Why is that on the camera? What are you doing with that? What's that thing? And what is this? And they're like, will you just get in front of the camera and model? Stop doing that. And that, so I would say my biggest leg up was being self-taught, was that I was immersed in it. So I knew what the top of the game was. I was working with Bruce Weber all the time. He had shot me and given me prints, and I'm holding a print of myself that's just gorgeous, and I'm looking at it, and it's just like a piece of art. And I'm like, this is amazing.
So he was your mentor then,
yeah.
right? Who's your mentor now?
I mean, I don't think that your mentor vanishes. I can still consider him my mentor. We don't have I ran into him maybe a year or two ago. But that's about it. We kind of lost touch. And then, over my travels, everybody who coaches with me knows that my two mentors are Bruce Weber and Bob Proctor. And as of right now, I wouldn't say that there's anybody that I would consider my mentor at the moment. But I don't think they leave you. I consider Bob Proctor and Bruce Weber my mentors. And if somebody else comes along that I feel is in that worthy of what they've done for me, then I'll put them there. But I don't feel like, right now I'm in a search for figuring out what the next steps are. What do I do with this skill that's ridiculous that I possess? It's so amazing, and there's got to be more than just one person at a time walking through my studio door that gets to have it. So I'm working on evolving and figuring out where it goes from here, and using the camera the camera's really been a door opener. It's amazing what that thing does.
How have you been able to maintain a life-work balance? I know you're married, you have twins,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I think
do you have some advice for people in that? How have you done it?
I picked the right human. I think that I don't believe that there is a work. Well, first of all, I don't feel like I'm working. My wife will tell you I work all the time, like from the moment my eyes open till I go to bed, which I do. I mean, I was retouching till I fell asleep last night, and I woke up this morning and I immediately got on a Zoom with one of my students who's rocking and gonna get over the. I got to get him over the hump. But I was on with Brittany before that. Like I'm like. My assistant Brittany, we talked at like early this morning about stuff and went through some finance stuff. I don't feel like it's work. So for me, it's just part of life. And I think my kid, if you ask that question, what's your dad like and what's your, they'd probably be like, hey, he's never around. He's always working. But they also look at what I do and how much I love it and how passionate about it. And I think they can appreciate that. So I feel like I'm a good gauge for them to see, I think it was my parents like worked their asses off. So it was like built in for me, maybe. But yeah, there's no balance. The only balancing of the work life is that I picked the right wife, because Yelly is so open to, she wants me to do whatever it is that I want to do to make me happy, for me to be able to provide for the family. That's it. And I think that's a little bit cultural. I just think I hit it out of the park with the culture. She's Venezuelan, and it's very much like the kids are 21 and she won't let them leave the house. Like they don't leave the house in Venezuela till they're married. So my kids are not allowed to go any, like she's like got them unlocked. It's like weird. I'm like, they're 21, let them go do whatever. And she's like, you know, but she's also like, I'm the king of the household. So it's like, what do you need? What are we doing? You know, and it's kind of always been like that. So that has allowed me to not only build the business into what it is, it's allowed me to follow my passion of sailing, to get my brain out of the studio and some physicality. And it's very important to me. I don't know why. I mean, I love it. I just did the Olympic trials, got my ass kicked, and it hurt and was painful, and I was pissed, and I was like, but the challenges of that, it mirrors other things in life. So I'm leaving Sunday for like 4 days to go sail, and a coach from Australia is coming up to coach me. He's coached me before. He's a buddy of mine. He actually kicks my ass. I've been second in the world 3 times, and 2 of them he's the one that beat me. So I gotta step it up and catch this guy. But he wouldn't coach me because I was getting second, and I was like, look, you're winning races by a mile. Like one regatta, we got down to the last race, and it was who beat who, and he beat me. And I haven't been close since. Anyway, I'm going off on another tangent. But yeah, work-life balance is basically find something that you love. You don't work a day in your life. Isn't there a saying? So I don't feel like I walked into the studio and I'm like, I walked in this morning and I've been in here since 2008. And I was like, I love this place. This is awesome. You know, but the other thing is that I might be saying that because my landlord called me and was like, I'm selling the floor, and you have to get out when your lease is up potentially, which is, I'm like, oh my, what am I going to, like, it's an end of an era. I'm freaking out right now. And it's made me appreciate what I've got, which I did not before. And I think everybody gets into that. You get into this comfort zone, and, you know, maybe as human beings, we just get mired in stuff. And I didn't really appreciate this actual space. And this is like a sanctuary for me now. Now I'm like, I really care. I'm like, wow, I might only have till September. And that might be it. Freaks me out. Isn't it an awesome studio?
Yeah, North Light, beautiful. It's perfect.
Yeah.
When you were starting out, were there some like things that you wish you would have done? Like, could you give some do's and don'ts of looking back on your own sort of trajectory and be like, I shouldn't have done that. That was a dead end. This was great. I should do more of that. Like someone
Yeah.
mid-career starting out or something, or do you have any advice for maybe some do's and don'ts?
Well, I think the main thing is I coach people a lot on having multiple sources of income. And I got burnt out on photography, and I was looking, and I was like, I can't live in the city and raise 2 daughters and, you know, have the lifestyle that I want to have, making what I'm making, which was a shit ton of money at the time. I was like, how did you do this in New York City? You know how it is. It's like crazy. It's like I was making a ton. I could have lived anywhere else like a king, but I decided this is where I wanted to be. You know, so with the studio overhead and, you know, twin daughters and stuff, I was like, I gotta find some other source of income. What am I gonna do? And I looked outside of photography, and then I brought all my attention away from photography with that, and it failed miserably. Wasn't for me. It was dumb. I was like, it was weird. I was like, I felt really, and then this recession hit. This was around 2007. 2006, I had my best year by far. 2007, I started to try to stretch. 2007, 2008 was a struggle because I was looking outside photography. And in 2009, I decided to go back to Bob Proctor, who was my mentor originally, to get myself launched. And I took his coaching program for a year. And then he there's this story that Earl Nightingale, who was Bob's mentor, used to tell. I don't know where the story originally came from. I think I heard Earl say it. Somebody came up with it, but it's called Acres of Diamonds. So there was this farmer in South America and there was diamond mining going all over South America, and people, it was like the gold rush, but it was for diamonds. So all these people started to look for diamonds and everything. And this guy's like, I got to go find a diamond mine. He was a farmer, and he had a farm with a bunch of acreage, and there was a river that ran through the farm, and raw diamonds people weren't used to seeing them, but all of a sudden in his property, he saw some people wading through the water or something. And they knock on the door and they're like, hey, we'd like to buy your farm. Is it for sale? And he's like, it's not for sale. And they were like, well, we'd like to offer you this. And it was over market. And he's like, oh, I'm going to have enough money to go diamond mining. So he sold the farm. And he goes off and goes to try find diamond mines. Well, they had waded in the water and they found a raw diamond that it came up. And it turned out that his property was the biggest diamond mine ever in South Africa, and this guy died never finding diamonds. And the moral of the story is, what's under your feet? You know, what's your acres? It's called Acres of Diamonds. What's your acres of diamonds? And mine was everything photographic. So F-stoppers walked in. Okay, they're like, you should do a tutorial. I was like, I never taught before. I only taught sailing before. I don't know how to teach. And they're like, well, you should do it because you're the leader in the industry now in headshots, and you should probably do it. And I was like, okay. And then that tutorial launched and it changed my life. So the other thing is that if you guys are used to a certain level of income, we get accustomed to that as humans, and we have a limit and a budget, and we know what we can spend, and we know what our standard of living is. And then all of a sudden you find another source of income and it comes in, you go, what the heck just happened? The F-stoppers changed my life because it got a hump that needed to go over. And then I had all this money come in. It was the art behind the headshots. I think it's was up to a point, the most successful photography tutorial ever. It made over $1 million. It went crazy. And it changed my life. So during that time, my web developer, Joe, said to me, and the F-stopper said, well, you should do a workshop. And I was like, I never did a workshop. Well, why don't you do a workshop? And then I said to Joe, I was like, well, if I do a workshop, he goes, why don't we make a website for these people? After you do the workshop, you could put them into the website and then you can keep coaching them. And I was like, really? I was like, okay. So he built Headshot Crew. I did the workshop. We launched the tutorial. And then when we launched the tutorial, Lee said, well, we gotta promote the tutorial. Why don't you take one of your tips? Like, what's your best tip? That jawline thing, right? And I was like, yeah, for sure. He goes, well, why don't you just do like a blog post for Scott Kelby or something? And I was like, okay, we'll get you in touch with his assistant. So Brad calls me, Scott's assistant, and he says, or he emails me maybe. He said, you can either write something or you can do a video. I was like, I'm not writing anything. I don't write. I'm not a writer. He goes, well, do a video. I took my iPhone. I did that jawline video. Scott put it on his blog, and it went viral, got me on Good Morning America. And then Scott said, hey, I want you to come speak at the Google conference because of that. And I was like, what? So now I got to speak at this Google conference. And then he says to me, he goes, well, you're the authority on the subject. You need to write a book. I think we should do it together. I was like, I don't write. He's like, it's okay. We're going to do it together. Anyway, the whole tumbling dice, or whatever you want to say, like I rolled the dice and then everything just started happening because of the Acres of Diamonds thing. And that led me to where I am today. But the bottom line is that it all stemmed from the talent behind the camera. So that's why wherever I go, whatever I do, whatever I'm doing, like, I don't feel fulfilled unless I'm pointing that thing at a human being and pressing the button and then figuring out what door that's going to open. And I'm telling you, it is opening doors left, right, and center. I have a coach that I'm working with now, and he's like, your camera is a key. It's a key. And with the with what I've been able to do, it's opening these doors for me. So it can open doors for other people too.
So what happened first, becoming a Canon Explorer of Light or your products with Westcott?
The products with Westcott happened, it was kind of all simultaneously. But the products with Westcott were in the mix. I think in 2000, I don't know what years it was, but what year was I? I guess the first year I went to WPPI was with the Hurley Pro panels. So I started selling this board, this Hurley Pro board that we used as a backdrop, which was really kind of crazy because it was super heavy and a pain in the ass to set up. But we sold them like crazy, and my brother was a finance guy, and he was working in the studio with me at an office in the back. Right where I'm sitting was my brother's office. I turned it into a podcast studio, and it's my office now. But he's like, "Hey, you're doing really well. Why don't we make something? Why don't you make some lights?" And I was shooting Kino flows, and I was like, "I can't deal with these. I need LEDs were coming. I need to make LEDs." And we spent a ton of money. We had a warehouse out in Costa Mesa. I had staff. I had a designer. I had a project manager. I had people on salary. I had guys going to Korea. I had a guy in China, guy in Korea. We were getting test bulbs, and we went to WPPI with these lights. And I mean, it was awesome. It was fun. It was crazy. It was exciting. It's funny to look back on this. I got an achievement award from the International Photographic Council, and I'm getting presented the award at the United Nations on May 15th. So I was like psyched. But so is I think a more prestigious award, Benjamin Von Wong. If you guys know Ben, he's doing amazing stuff. Anyway, at this WPPI thing, I put those lights on and I shot Ben, and that's the headshot he's using still for the luncheon. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was with Hurley Pro lights. Oh my gosh. So anyway, the light, I decided I wasn't a lighting company. I thought that there was too much rigmarole. We had already dumped $250,000 into it. Looked like it was not going to stop. I felt stressed. I was like, this is not looking pretty. I have to pull the plug. And luckily, I tried. I talked to my brother, and he wouldn't pull the plug. I kept trying. I've never fought with my brother. He's like the quintessential older brother. He's the one who always had me under his wing. He helped me get my first studio was in his apartment, in his living room. Anyway, finally, I get him to stop. We pull the plug. About a month later or something, right after that, Westcott had seen what I was doing, and Kelly, who was the president at the time, I got a call and we had a meeting, and that was it. She was awesome, changed my life. Westcott has been phenomenal for me. Not only is the kit allowed me to do more with my photography than ever before, I bring it everywhere with me. It's got photographers. It's so coachable for me to coach them and to know what they're doing, and to be able to sell it globally and have photographers be able to emulate what I've been able to do has been huge. And I could never have done it without the kit. It made my coaching so much more repeatable and easier to manage and everything. So the kit's been fun to this day. Like, I thank Brandon and the team at Westcott. They've been phenomenal. You know, and I'm like, I called them the other day. I was like, what are we doing? And we've got some stuff up our sleeve, but I'm like, what? I was like, look, I want to make more products. So my brain's racking. I'm trying to figure out what my next moves are.
So a couple last questions, and then I got some rapid fire questions for you. So first question, just real quick, what's your workflow? Is it Capture One, Photoshop, or what else?
It's Capture One. I tether to Capture One, and then I put my settings on in Capture One to where I feel like the export on a TIFF is going to look really good when it gets over to Photoshop. But we've got this new AI software called Evoto that's come up in the past 6 months or so, maybe a little bit more. And I started working with them, and this has changed the game. So now I have my assistant using that, so that I EIP my files out of Capture One, which is enhance image protocol. So I put that on the file so that it goes to my retoucher ready to go. And then it goes into a Evoto or whatever she does. I let her decide. When I'm doing my own work, I'm hitting it in a Evoto. I have, by the way, this has changed everything. Like I never retouch anything. I never touched a computer. So I would only allow my work to be touched by Brittany or by Joe Barnum, my retoucher. And I didn't really know, or Damien Battinelli did my whole book. And he would do my retouching and a couple other retouchers. But now with Evoto, Brittany's doing all my retouching from almost everything, except for when I feel like I'll look back at old work, or I'll shoot somebody. Maybe I'll do a freebie that I want to get on the site, or somebody that's important that I want to just amp up, and I'll throw it into Evoto and then do my own stuff. Tommy Collier is one of my students that's one of my mentors on the crew, and he was doing the best color out of anybody that I ever saw. And the work, I think I'm very into very light touch on the retouch, and a lot of my photographers like to go a little more heavy-handed, which I'm not a huge fan of, Tommy being one of them, he knows that. But his work is phenomenal. And he developed a system, and then he sold it. It's called the Tommy treatment. So we sell it on the site, and he's had it out for like a year, or at least maybe since Hideaway, since last September or something. And I always had it, but I was like bugging him. I'm like, Tommy, you got to just run. He goes, it's a bunch of videos. Will you just watch the videos, Peter? I'm like, oh my God. So I finally watched the videos, but then I still was like, Tommy, I still need run it through. So he spent an hour on Zoom with me, like seriously, like 2 weeks ago. And for the past 2 weeks, I've been like on fire, changing my website, changing my images up till my wife's watching a movie. I'm retouching on the computer, kind of half in on the movie, half in on the retouch, and doing the Tommy treatment on it. And I'm so happy right now. I love it. I was like, oh my gosh, I need it. Now I've never had a Wacom tablet. I had one years ago. I was like, I need a tablet or a Cintiq or something. I'm so into this. So that's kind of the process. So it goes Capture One, TIFF, out of Capture One into Evoto, tiny stuff in Evoto that's been really a game changer. You got to be careful with the sliders, guys. Just settle down, just be artistic, use your eye. And then it goes back into Photoshop, and I'll retouch anything that Evoto didn't get that I want to. And then it goes into this Tommy treatment sequence of things, which is like contouring and sharpening and a little bit of dodge and burn and some contrast stuff, some color stuff, and it just spits out of there, and it's phenomenal. So that's the process. And then James, one of my other guys on Headshot Crew, another mentor, created this thing called Send It, and I hate like resizing, converting the profile from Adobe 1998 to sRGB and all that stuff. And he created a program that knows every social media platform, every dimension, and with AI it puts the face in the center and does all this cool stuff. So you press a button, you get all these different files, and then you're done. So the workflow is really, I think photographers are having more time in their hands. They don't need to use the retouchers in India anymore, which is tough for retouchers, but you can really get the job done yourself or you get somebody that, is doing it in an expedited fashion using these AI tools. And I think that's the way AI helps us. I think that that's important. I think you guys, we have to embrace AI as much as we can. AI pictures, different story. Obviously it hurts the business and everything. But the thing about that is that they didn't create history. They didn't capture a moment. And I don't think capturing moments is ever going to go away. So we're all right.
So last question before we do rapid fire, and thanks for answering that AI, because I did receive that via email. People were wondering what your thoughts were on AI. So what's next for Peter Hurley?
Oh, good question. I'll tell you. Before I wrap, just so you know, Headshot Crew, if you're not a member of the Headshot Crew, headshotcrew.com/offer will get you in on an offer. Inside is some free Evoto credits for you if you want to try Evoto. The other thing is that, what is the other thing that Tommy treatment's also there. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in because I was talking about those. All on the website, headshotcrew.com. Okay. Next for me, it's funny because I just signed, getting an agent for anything has always been tough. I never got a photography agent. I was always gun shy and I was making probably too much money with headshots to get out of headshot land. So I never got a photography agent. Agent for acting, I never quite I had a manager. I never really got an acting agent. Commercial agents and modeling agents I had, but the agent thing was always like, somebody believes in me. Like it's really tough. So I've had a opportunity to get a speaker agent, and I really love speaking to photographers. I found it more challenging to speak to people outside of photography because I'm so confident I'm an expert in photography field that I feel like I talk to photographers till I'm blue in the face. How do you translate that to the general public, and what am I going to teach them if it's not photography? And that's going into things that are utilizing my background. The fact that I got to the height of the photographic industry. I've trained for 2 Olympic Games. I'm talking on things like discipline and building trust and authenticity and these types of things that drive. You know, these are the types of things that I'm talking about. I just signed the contract with the speaker agent, which I'm so psyched about. Just like Friday. What's today? I think I did it on Friday. It's this Friday. So it was a week ago.
Congrats.
Or maybe it was Monday. I don't know. It was definitely this week. It was in the last week. So that's the next phase. And I don't know where that's going to take me, but I'm really, really looking forward to that. So we'll see.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Some rapid fire questions. What's the exposure where you're at right now?
What's the exposure?
Yeah, give me the f-stop, the ISO, and the shutter speed. Where you're at right now.
Oh, where I'm, why somebody?
You got 10
Because I make people do that.
You asked me, that was your first.
Yeah. So I would say if I was being shot right now on this, let me see. I would say I'm always going to go f4, and I'm going to go 1/60th of a second because those are two that I know so well. f4 1/60th of a second, and I'm going to go with the ISO at f4 1/60th. It's going to be like, I'm going to say 3200.
Nice. I remember when you asked.
I should shoot myself.
You asked us that question. I was like, okay, what's BDE? All right, like f16, same ISO, same f-stop. We're probably at least 3 stops in. It's not 12 o'clock yet, so that's at least 2/3. So I'm like 3 2/3 stop from 16. I'm like, I don't know, 5. Yeah, but you asked us that. That was fun. What's the last book you read?
Cover to cover. That's a tough one. What is the last book I read? I read, what was the book I was reading? Leadership by John C. Maxwell. 21 Laws of Leadership, John C. Maxwell.
Water.
And I shot him, and I got to shoot him. So I knew I was shooting him, so I read the book. Actually, it was an audiobook, and then he gave me the Laws of Communication, and that's the one I'm reading now.
Water or coffee?
Coffee.
If you could only have one lens, what would it be?
24 to 105, f2.8, RF lens, Canon.
What was your last impulsive purchase?
I wanted to get a different color Whoop band, so I bought this. I was like black all the time, and I was like, oh, I want a different color. So that was the last thing I purchased that I can remember. I've been very cognizant about my spending in lately. So, and I changed to an S corp from an LLC. So now I have the business that's over my head. I'm on payroll. I was like, this is weird. I talked to my accountant the other day. She's like, hey, you're living like a real human now. Like I had an LLC for years, and it was like all my money, and then I just had to figure it out. and I was not good at figuring it out. So I was like, I better strap myself in. And that I did with an S Corp. And now I'm like, holy smokes. So I've been really more careful and more appreciative of what I have and what I've built.
What's the best product that you've developed that you're most proud of?
Flex Kit for sure. Obviously, from what I said, I can't believe that Westcott put their faith in me to help them build that thing, and then we get to sell it, and photographers get to benefit from it. It's by far the Flex Kit, yeah.
Who's the best photographer of all time?
Avedon or Pen for me. I mean, for me, it's probably Richard Avedon.
What's the best photograph ever?
I don't know. I'm not that guy. I don't have a photograph in my mind. I mean, what Cartier-Bresson with the, I don't know.
I mean, there's an Avedon photo that I think about. It's there was a woman in between like two elephants.
Yeah.
And that was,
Davina.
yeah, just absolutely like, I mean, just the magnitude of getting two elephants, and yeah, I mean, just wow.
Yeah.
What was your nickname growing up?
It was Hunley, I think.
Where'd that come from?
Nobody knows that. That's funny. Well, first of all, I went to my high school reunion and everybody called me Pete, and I was like, was I Pete? I'm like, asked my friends, I was Pete. Like, I don't remember. I was Pete to everybody at that reunion, and I'm never remember being a Pete, and I'm Peter, and I was like, that's weird. But well, there's two nicknames, but it was only to people who knew this. This was like I had some inside joke nicknames, but the nickname that I got from all the sailors was Hollywood. Hollywood is probably the nickname that stuck the most. Like, I still have sailors always telling me it's Hollywood, 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 Hollywood. So that's the big one. But the Hunley thing was that I got written up, I won a national championship, and then I guess I won the national championship or something. And in the newspaper on that Sunday after I won, it's like, or maybe it was Monday, it came out, Hunley has good weekend. And I was like, what?
Everyone started calling you Hunley.
So they called me Hunley. But Hollywood was really, I would say Hollywood, because my sailor buddies all call me Hollywood.
Nice. Well, thank you, Peter. I know there's a couple questions that people have, and anyone who has a question for Peter or myself, feel free, ask away, put it in the chat. We got a couple extra minutes, but thank you, Peter. I appreciate your time, your expertise, your knowledge, your just presence. Thank you.
No, thank you. This was fun. I was looking forward to it, and I was glad I got to do it with you. I think we should talk about McKenna a little bit and what you're doing and what you're doing there, because I think people can benefit from it.
Yeah, I didn't mention McKenna at all. So I am what am I? So I obviously host webinars. I also teach one-on-one classes. So whether you want to talk about lighting, critiquing photos, composition, all kinds of things. We also have two webinars coming up. It's a advanced Photoshop on May 14th. And on May 29th, we have a composition webinar as well. So please join. But I'm the retoucher here at McKenna, the probably primary retoucher. There's a few of us, but yeah, so we at McKenna Print, we're known for our medals and also for our albums. But we have all kinds of photographic processes, all kinds of products. So whether it's gallery wraps or regular lusters, but big metal prints, that's really what we're known for, and just beautiful albums. So, but we have every product, every photographic product. We're located in Iowa, Waterloo, Iowa. So, and yeah, we do anything that you pretty much need photographically, print wise. We are your place. So
cool.
That's McKenna. So yeah, I've been here a couple of years, so it's been fun. And
That's awesome.
just getting more on the webinar side and more on the coaching side. So yeah, it's all free one-on-one coaching, and all the webinars are free as well. So, all right, let's get into a couple questions here. And let's see, I received, let's see. Any questions, you guys? If you guys want to just feel free to ask, go ahead.
Yeah, you guys got anything for me in the chat? How about that? Hit me up in the chat if you got one. I see I answered everything. I'm just so on point.
Yeah, I think you did. I'm not sure if there's any one person said, why do you tether?
Oh, that's such a good question. So, number one coaching tool. I would tether if your lighting's good and if you have the ability to direct. If your lighting sucks and you can't direct, don't tether because you don't want to show them crap. But if you're good, people generally can learn about their expression through tethering, and they can understand. Humans have the capacity to learn, I've found, generally. And if they go and look at the tether, then they can go back in front of the camera and get better. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Another person said, have you ever been a member of any photo organization? If so, which ones?
I just joined PPA because my equipment insurance was out and I wanted to utilize them, and I should probably put that on my list to call and get the stuff covered again because all my equipment is not covered right now. And I had joined PPA in the past. Other than that, I think I joined ASMP for like a year or something, but then I didn't continue. Yeah, I don't know what other organizations, but I think the PPA stuff, especially the Imaging USA conference, I love, and I think PPA is doing a good thing. So they have a vibrant community, and I think it's worth, like, just for what you get with the perks of the membership, it makes sense.
Sure.
So.
For people wanting to follow,
And Headshot Crew.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for people wanting to follow you and find you, and what's the best, I know you're all over social media, but what's the best way for them to follow you, or where would you like them to give yourself?
I mean, I think Instagram I'm very active on, Peter_Hurley, and I answer all my DMs. So if you have a question or, anything, I do answer them all personally. Nobody has my access to my Instagram except for myself, so I'll be the one. If people want to touch base with me there.
All right. Well, I think there's no other questions. So thanks again, everyone, for attending. I appreciate your time and listening and your engagement. Thank you for the questions. Thank you again, Peter, for the awesome conversation. And
my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Take care. Signing off, and we'll be in touch. You want to do a last closing, your one of your favorite words? 3, 2, 1. SHA-BANG! I got it right above me, but you can't see it. I should have tilted the camera up. But anyway, I was going to ask you to use shebang in a sentence, but I don't even know if
that's easy.
Yeah.
I use it all the time. You just go shebang the crap out of them in front of your camera when you get a chance. Next person, go do it. Get a shebang out of them. All right. Bye, guys. See ya.
Take care.